Well, hello class, and welcome to BACC 635 Advanced Accounting Theory. My name is Dr. Jake Brock. I'm an Associate Professor of Accounting here at the University of the Cumberlands and the Robert W. Plaster Graduate School of Business. And I'm excited to have each of you in this class as we journey through an advanced study of accounting theory over the coming 8 weeks together, and excited to have each of you in our accounting program here at UC. Accounting theory is one of my favorite topics in the profession. It's something I enjoy teaching a lot as an accounting professor and academic, but it's also something I enjoy studying a great deal as an accountant who understands the importance of theories and standards and the nature, the backstory, if you will, behind our profession and how and why we do what we do as practicing accountants. I just want to take a few minutes to give you a brief overview of what to expect in the course, and particularly what we'll be tackling in this very first week of the course in week 1. If you've not already done so, I want to encourage you to go to the course syllabus and take a look at an overview of the course and course policies. You can find that under the real creatively entitled tab Syllabus in iLearn. We're not creative namers in accounting. We're also not creative namers when it comes to iLearn. So you can find the syllabus under that tab. Most of you have probably already done that, but I want to encourage you, if you haven't, to take a quick look at that. If you have any questions over any of the course policies or the content in the syllabus, please let me know. I'll be glad to help you with that. And on that point, I want to go ahead and interject something that will become very important for this class, and that is the principle that if you have questions, please let me know. I'll be glad to help with any questions that you have. As I tell my in-seat undergraduate students, the only dumb question is a question that doesn't get asked. I know advanced accounting courses, especially at the graduate level, can be intimidating and professors can be intimidating. Please let me encourage you, if you have questions, reach out. I'll be glad to help with them and to assist you any way I can with that. If you have anything that you're wondering about, not sure about, or not understanding, not only on the syllabus but throughout the course, please reach out and I'll be glad to assist you with that. The next thing I would encourage you to do after you take a look at the course syllabus is to venture to the discussion tab and go ahead and make a posting to the week 1 introduction posting. That is a pretty standard component for many, if not all, of the classes that you have as a graduate student here at UC. You'll usually be required to make an introduction posting for a couple of reasons. One is it verifies your participation in the course. That's important to make sure you maintain enrollment and that the university's reporting software does not accidentally or inadvertently kick you out of the class. But secondly, it also helps me and other students in the program to get to know you as a person, as a student, and as a practicing professional. I have to tell you that I take those discussions seriously, not telling you that to terrify you in terms of grading, but in the sense that I read every single student introduction posting. I enjoy getting to know my students, and in the online environment, that's one of the key ways that we get to learn more about each other. So I want to encourage you to do that. That is a graded form, but in addition, it also is valuable in getting to know you as an individual, as a person, and as a professional. After you've done that, you'll want to venture to the content area, into the week 1 folder, where you'll see several additional assignments that are due this week. First of all, we'll be reading through and studying chapter 1 of your course textbook, The Development of Accounting Theory, looking at a lot of fascinating information about the development of the accounting profession, where the accounting profession not only came from, but where accounting itself came from. One of the lesser known points and facts of history is that the origins of accounting are actually older than the origins of writing itself. A lot of folks just think that accounting might have come about just in recent decades. I've had some folks who said, well, accounting really wasn't a thing until Sarbanes-Oxley came into being, was it? And I always have to stop myself from laughing out loud on that. It was a thing many, many years before Sarbanes-Oxley ever came around with regard to that act. It's certainly important. It's certainly changed the landscape of what we do every day as professionals. But accounting was around a long time before SOX ever came into being. As a matter of fact, the origins of accounting go back to the earliest archaeological records that we have. Before we even have evidence of a developed form of writing, of the written word, we have evidence of more primitive primitive cultures that actually used clay tokens, pieces of shattered clay, as you'll read about in Chapter 1, that were used as a primitive means of being able to account for resources, what was on hand, what was needed, and in some cases, what was owed to others. Dr. Denise Schmalt-Besseron is an archaeologist who has had a particularly prominent role in surveying those early origins, but we'll start there, and then we'll come forward to the history of the development and the evolution of accounting. One of the other major landmarks we'll explore in this chapter occurred in 1494 when an Italian monk and mathematician named Fra Luca Pacioli wrote a textbook that would be far more consequential than he realized at that time. It was entitled Summa de Arithmetica Geometria Proportionita. You do not need to memorize that for this class, but it's one of those fascinating points in history where we have the advent of double entry accounting. Debits and credits actually go back to 1494. If you're trying to memorize that to impress your friends with your knowledge of accounting trivia, most of us in the course of early education learned the little saying, in 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. Well, 2 years later, in 1494, Fra Luca Pacioli developed double entry accounting through that mathematics textbook. It was primitive for double entry. He was looking at mathematics, not accounting proper, but it laid the foundations of what would, through the Industrial Revolution, the Renaissance first, and then later the Industrial Revolution, would become what we know today as the robust system of debits and credits, double entry accounting, various accounting elements that we come to deal with. So in this chapter, you get to survey a lot of interesting things related to those considerations, and then to the modern development of the accounting profession, especially through the 20th century, with the advent of public accounting as a licensed profession in the United States. Once you've read through the content, I've also provided and will continue to provide some lecture videos and video-driven resources for you. Your first content-driven assignments for this week will be first your Week 1 discussion. That is a separate discussion from your introduction discussion posting. That's to introduce yourself. The Week 1 discussion is looking at content related to what we're reading and studying in the first week of the course. So that Week 1 discussion board is going to, in a nutshell, ask you to describe the FASB Accounting Standards Codification, the major goals for the FASB, and how it's expected to improve the practice of accounting. So based on your understanding of the content we study this week related to that, give me, in your own words, your assessment of what the ASC is designed to do. And you can also include some tidbits. It's not required by the prompt, but I would encourage you, if you're thinking about it, to even include your own evaluation of how well the ASC might have achieved those goals. It's one thing to establish, here's what we hope it will do. Well, as practicing professionals in the field, you certainly also have the ability to evaluate how well you think it has achieved those purposes. Your ability to do that will probably sharpen through this class as we do some additional research in the ASC. Many of you may use the ASC on a regular basis. Some of you, especially if you're working in certain areas of financial analysis, or as I started my career in a cost accounting role, you may not be using the ASC much at all. That's okay. We're going to use it a lot in this class, but your familiarity with that will build as we go through course content. Here, I just want your initial thoughts, your initial perspective based on your reading in Week 1 up through this point. That is due like your introduction discussion posting. Your initial post is due by Wednesday. Your replies will be due by the end of the week on Sunday at 11:59 p.m. Following that Week 1 discussion forum, you'll then have a case study found under the header of Week 1 case or unit assignment. This is going to ask you to read a room for debate case at the end of Chapter 1, specifically Debate 1-1, which body should set accounting standards in the United States. What you're going to be asked to do is to summarize the major lines of argument. Should standards, accounting standards, be set by the profession itself and accountants who are experts in the field, or should it be established by government regulators, most prominently the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission? Other ideas have been broached, but the SEC is really the other main alternative. So what you're going to do is, based on your reading, your thought process, and your own professional experience, you're going to summarize the main lines of argument related to various positions dealing with that question. In addition, what I also want you to do is to venture to the UC library online, the online library resources, and find 2 peer-reviewed research journal articles related to this and integrate those with your response, with your argument. I'm not asking you, by the way, to do a full-length research paper, so don't hit the panic button on this if you're thinking, oh, I'm not prepared for this. We'll take it step by step. And also, if you have questions or if you're not sure of how to leverage or find or use UC Library resources, I've already provided a tutorial video to that effect that you can find in the Week 1 folder that'll hopefully give you an overview of that that's helpful, in addition to those resources the library itself has provided. But if you are struggling in particular, even after looking at that, you're just like, Dr. Brock, I'm lost here, please reach out. I'll be glad to help you, point you in the right direction, give you some ideas to consider. But you want to find 2 of those articles, summarize those, integrate those with your response here in terms of evaluating those arguments. It doesn't have to address, and I want to emphasize that these research articles don't have to address the issue head on. They just need to be relevant to formulating your response. Maybe some helpful additional information, some helpful points that can be added to the argument, so they don't have to be strictly related to this case in the sense of that's the main point, but they need to provide some helpful information that enriches your understanding and your response. So having said that, I'm fairly flexible with how you use that, but it does need to be relevant, and that relevance needs to be indicated in how you use it in formulating your arguments and enhancing those arguments with that research literature. Once you provided your response, you'll write that, by the way, in a Microsoft Word document. There's instructions on how to format it provided for you in the assignment description, but you'll upload that, and then you'll proceed to your last assignment this week, which is the Week 1 ASC research assignment. Similar to the Week 1 case or unit assignment, this particular requirement is going to ask you to read a different case at the end of each chapter. There's several different classes of cases. Some are general cases, some are FASB ASC or Accounting Standards Codification research cases, and some are the room for debate cases like we're dealing with in the Week 1 unit case assignment. This one, I'm asking you to look into the FASB ASC. Information on how to access the ASC is provided for you in the content area. Once again, if you have questions on that, there's some tutorials I provided for you as well, but you can reach out and I'll be glad to help you. You will read that case study in the textbook at the end of chapter 1, and then you're going to go to the Accounting Standards Codification and search to find the guidance that's relevant to that question. In other words, with the question that is asked, this one is going to deal with accounting for the investment tax credit. You're going to find guidance in the code that applies to that. You're going to copy and paste that guidance. This is one of those rare situations where a graduate professor is saying, yes, I actually want you to copy and paste. I do want you to copy and paste that content. I want you to cite it, FASB, ASC, da-da-da, series of numbers, showing where you got it from. If you need guidance on that, I can help with that as well. And then I want you to provide a brief, and I do mean brief, summary, just a 1-paragraph, handful of sentences summary of the major points of that guidance. You don't need to hammer everything exhaustively, just in surveying the guidance. If your boss were to come to you and say, okay, what are the main points from this that we need to apply if we're accounting for this at work? Give me just your executive summary of that, the major points, just to show you've read it. Here's my understanding of it. And then I ask you to find 1 additional peer-reviewed journal article. The first case study assignment asks you to do 2 in the room for debate. You're summarizing 2 lines of debate. That's why I ask you to find 2 articles. The last one, I just want you to find 1 either peer-reviewed research article or, for the ASC, it can also be a professional article. So, for example, an article from the Journal of Accountancy, or one of the IMA, the Institute of Management, or Management Accounting journals. So, if you're looking at professional journals, they are distinct from research journals. Research journals are peer-reviewed by credentialed folks in the field, folks who have research doctorates. Professional articles are in a sense peer-reviewed, but they're not peer-reviewed through the same academic process. They're focused on application, implementation, emerging professional issues. They're still valuable, but they're a little bit of a different type of literature genre. It can be either one for the ASC. It can deal with implementing that guidance. It can deal with emerging issues related to that topic, as long as it's relevant to the topic at hand. Just pick 1 article, summarize the major points of that article in your own words. Again, a brief summary. I emphasize brief, and then include that with your response. So for the ASC, find the guidance, give a brief summary of the guidance, find a related article, give me a brief summary of that article and a link to that article to show you found it and where I can find it, and then upload that response as a Microsoft Word document as well to that Dropbox. So that outlines your work. It's a little bit heavier than most weeks are with regard to this. You've got 2 discussion boards, your introduction board, your week 1 discussion. You've got your week 1 case or unit study that's dealing with the summary of the room for debate argument, and then your FASB ASC research case. I will tell you, especially with the ASC, there's a learning curve if you're not used to searching questions or finding content in the ASC. It's a little bit of a learning curve with that. I grade with that understanding in mind, and so I know you'll get better with that as you get used to using it more and more. So don't panic. Again, if you have questions, if you're beating your head against a wall in the proverbial sense and just thinking, I can't find this, I'm stuck, reach out to me by email. I'll be glad to help point you in the right direction. But if you get frustrated, be patient with yourself. There's a learning curve. I know that. Be patient with yourself as you work through that, and it will get better and get easier with time. Having said that, I once again want to welcome each of you to this class, to Advanced Accounting Theory and to Week 1. I'm excited to journey through the content with you this week and in the coming weeks. And once again, just want to give you a final reminder. If you have questions, if you have concerns, please reach out and I'll be glad to help. You can reach me at jake.brock@ucumberlands.edu and I'll be glad to assist you. With that, have a fantastic week and have fun studying accounting theory. Talk to you soon.